Delegating is often really difficult for some of us, and that is because we are often missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. The definition of delegate is to entrust to another, and oftentimes that's what we're really focused on, is that trusting of the other person or system. But what we really need to be focused on is trusting ourselves. So let's talk about what gets in the way of all of this, and we're going to do that in the context of 3 types of delegation. The first is the most standard type of delegation that we think about, and that is delegating to other people. It could be people who work for us, it could be colleagues, it could be a contractor, anyone that we are going to delegate to. How many times have you said, it's just easier for me to do it myself? That is the number one way that gets in the way of us delegating to other people. We think it's easier for us to do it ourselves. It also means that we have to deal with more humans if we're delegating, and sometimes that can be really difficult. The other type of delegation I want to talk about is delegation through automation or through systems. Many times what I hear from people is that just takes too much time. It takes time to step back and set it up and create this system, and so we don't delegate in that way. The third type of delegation is delegating to our future self. So instead of taking the time to do the thing right now, we're going to delegate it to ourselves a week from now or next season. Many times we don't do this because we think we'll forget or we think it will be too late. So what does all of this have to do with trust? And how can trusting ourselves help us to not only overcome those reasons, but also delegate successfully? Well, let's talk about trust. The first type of trust is trusting that we understand what needs to be done. And this might sound silly. If we're trying to delegate something, of course we know, right? Well, not always. Sometimes we get so used to running, we get so caught up in the hamster wheel, we don't actually think about what we're doing. What is the task, the item, or the responsibility that we want or need to delegate? If we can trust that we know what needs to be done, then we're more able to then articulate it to someone else. Again, sometimes we're moving just so fast, we don't take the time for this. Now, we also want to think about why. Why does this thing need to be done? Why should we do this or have someone else do it? It could be to free up time. It could be to play to someone's strengths. All of those reasons can come into that piece of trusting that we understand what needs to be done. The second piece of trust is trusting that we can clearly articulate expectations. Now, this may sound the same, but in some ways it's different. There's one piece of knowing what needs to be done, and the other in trusting that we know what done looks like. How will you know that this is complete? What is the finished product or desired outcome? Maybe are there expected deadlines or milestones that need to be met along the way? What does success look like? By answering those questions, we can build that trust in ourselves that we can clearly articulate the expectations to someone else. The fourth area of trust is trusting that we're able to provide accountability. And this can be really difficult at times. And sometimes we don't even want to have to deal with this. This is where it's just easier for me to do it myself can come in. If you haven't listened to the session on difficult conversations, I encourage you to do that if you're struggling with this piece. So what questions do you want to ask yourself as you're preparing and kind of building that trust that you can provide accountability? What will the follow-up process be? What does accountability even look like? How often will I follow up, and by what means? Will it be email? Will we have regular meetings? What do you need to be thinking and feeling to provide that level of accountability? Thinking about what you believe about the other person, what you believe about yourself, and maybe what you believe about that task. Looking at that belief triad and seeing all 3 of those pieces can help you bolster that sense of trust that you can provide accountability for this task. The last area of trust is trusting that you can handle any outcome. Again, I wish that by giving you a framework, I could tell you that it would be smooth sailing and there would never be any issues to come your way. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. The world is messy and sometimes things don't go as planned. So let's go there. What is the worst case scenario? Your brain is already creating it in your mind, so you might as well articulate it to yourself. What's the worst thing that can happen? What will you be thinking if that happens? How will you feel? And how will you handle that situation? Sometimes the monster under the bed is scarier if we don't look at it. There are so many times when I will coach someone and they will say, just horrible things could happen. And I'm like, okay, what are those horrible things? And as we articulate them and bring up those worst case scenarios, they will realize that they know exactly what to do should any of those worst case scenarios come to fruition. And if you don't, this is the time to build that trust in yourself, to decide, okay, what will I do if that happens? I also want you to think the other direction. What is the best case scenario? What is the best thing that could happen that would allow you to feel that trust of handling any outcome? Is it that this person can take this off your plate permanently? Is it that this will go so well that you won't ever have to do this again, or you won't have to do it for many years? What will you think and feel then? And use your imagination for good. How do you think you got there? How did you get to that best case scenario? Again, putting those thoughts on paper, or at least getting them out of your head, can really help you build that trust that you can handle any outcome. So again, as you start to delegate and you find yourself struggling, it's not just about focusing on how much you trust that other person. It is, do you trust yourself, that you know what needs to be done, that you can clearly articulate expectations, that you can provide accountability, and that you can handle any outcome that comes your way. When you build that trust in yourself, you will become unstoppable and able to delegate anything you put your mind to.